Welcome to Bet on It NFL week number 5. Wow, we are just trucking right along. Excited to see the NFL going strong. Excited for this week's games. Let's bring in my two favorite guys, Marco D'Angelo and Gianni the Greek Gambler. Gianni, I'm actually going to start with you. I just watched our intro, and I've seen it before, but I just realized I'm really missing the goatee. Are we going to bring that back?
Maybe. I've been asked that before. I wore it for so long, it was like years in a row. So then when I finally took it off, I kind of liked the change. Once in a while, I'll slap it back on for the show, though, only for the show.
Okay. We'll just get you like a toupee goatee for the show. I'll get to you in a minute. Marco, I wanted to congratulate you on a great weekend. You want to update everybody on how you did?
Yeah, good weekend for us. 6-3 for college and pro combined. All sports. We're on an 11-3 run. Been doing well with the baseball playoffs. So exciting times. And going back to last year, Kelly, our football's on a 62% run going back to last December. So we picked up where we left off last year, and I didn't know what to think coming into this year with all of the uncertainty that we had, but it's worked out pretty well for us, and we'll keep it going.
VR, you and I went head-to-head last week, and I try not to read your guys' notes that you send into our producers because I feel like it's better to not. And then as I'm reading through the show, I'm like, damn it, VR and I are head-to-head on best bets. I kind of knew at that point in time I might be in trouble with the Raiders. Update everybody on how your weekend was.
I had a good weekend. I mean, anytime you turn a profit, that's a good thing. And more importantly, we're now a quarter of the way through the NFL season and college football, and it's been an unprecedented season. So to be a quarter of the way through and be profitable, I'm really excited and optimistic for what's ahead. With that said, I think I have a big enough sample size now to where I'm more confident in my power ratings, and I think that's why I've stepped up my bet size to where I'm firing a lot less 3% and moving up more to 4% and 5%, even if they're coming an hour before game time and I don't have time to market it. I don't care. I fired 2 or 3 5% plays within 30 minutes of kickoff because that's when the information came in. Granted, I can't promote it and sell it, but as long as my subscribers get down in cash, that's all I want to see. And I think going forward, now, if you're a bettor that has their own numbers, you kind of got to have them ironed out. The NFL is a very short season. We're a quarter of the way through, small sample size, but still you got to be able to work around that. And the only adjustments for me going forward are probably going to be due to injuries, not much on results, because I do think, like the odds makers, you don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction to one final. But at the same time, I do think we've seen enough football, believe it or not, to know who's good, who's not at this point.
VR, you touched on the odds makers and having your numbers set. I'm not so sure these guys have their numbers set, particularly in regards to the totals. Do you want to speak on that as well? I know we kind of touched on a little bit on the Monday night Bet on It segment.
Yeah, I'd love to. So that way I won't waste time on the Sunday Night Football total. Here's why. The reason these lines are, the games are still going over is that the totals weren't high enough. Even last week, where we came into the week and I saw 8 or 9 matchups with totals of 50 or higher, and I said, wait, that's a lot. Maybe they made the adjustment. We're going to start seeing some unders. But when I added up the math, it didn't add up, and that's why I ended up betting some overs last week and having some success. Here's why. Last year, 2019, scoring was up. The NFL average score per game was 45.3 points per game. The average NFL total was 45.7 or 8. So they were within a half point of the NFL average. They were shaded towards the bettor's bias, towards the over, not too much to where sharps could get value on the under, only a half a point. So they did a phenomenal job. This year, going into last week, okay, where we saw those totals above 50, the average score in the NFL was 51 points. Even after last week, it's still around there, 51 points, okay? The average total last week was only 46.5. So it was still 3.5, 4.5, 5 points lower than they should be based on what the scoring's been to date. Now, looking at this weekend's week 5 totals, they're averaging a lot higher. I think I did 13 of them, and I'm around 50 or 51, right where the scoring is. If we're going to see a regression, it's going to start now, meaning when odds makers do that, when the totals actually match up with the scoring. Because again, if they're scoring 55 points a game, 52, 53 totals look high, but they're not high if they're scoring 55, 56 points a game. If they're scoring 53, 54 points a game, your total's got to be up that high as well. So I think the odds makers got beat, not adjusting quick enough. But looking at this week's numbers, I think they're doing it a lot faster than last week. Wouldn't be surprised to see a lot more unders in week 5 and moving forward if they continue adjusting like they did for this week.
All right, thank you, VR. I know you guys are excited for us to get into NFL Week 5, but I really wanted him to touch on that because I think it is super important. We did see all 8 morning games go over last week, and then the afternoon, as well as Monday, we started to see that regression trickle in. So keep an eye on that one. Let's kick off Thursday night football. Marco D'Angelo, I'm going to start with you. We have Tampa Bay at Chicago. This one is down to 3.5, a total of 44.5. With our friends over at the Westgate. Talk to me about Thursday night football. We may actually have a good product on our hands this week.
Yeah, Kelly, last week I was all over going against the Bears, and, I was, a little bit mean. I called him as phony as a $3 bill, but it was for the matchup last week, and we got the money. I took a lot of flack for that play last week on Indianapolis, but they came home. Now, this week, people are going to say, what's going on? Am I bipolar? What? Because I'm jumping on the Chicago Bears. Yeah, the same Bears that I told you last week was as phony as a $3 bill. And here's the difference. First off, last week was a bad spot for the Bears. They hadn't played any good teams, in my opinion. The wins that they got, they were lucky to get. The Detroit game, we talked about the injuries they had in the secondary. They made that miraculous comeback. And then the Atlanta Falcon game, they were getting blown out, come back and got the win. And we know how bad Atlanta's been playing. But they were going to be facing a good defense last week for the first time. And they struggled. And it was Nick Foles' first start with the Bears. He came in relief in the Atlanta game. Now he's got a week game under his belt. And the other part last week was, too, I knew that Chicago had this game coming up on Thursday for a look-ahead spot. But now we look at the line, and we've seen the line move down some, and it had to move down some because, quite frankly, Vegas overreacted to public perception. You cannot tell me right now, with where this line opened up and where the Indianapolis line opened up last week, that Tampa Bay was that many points better than Indianapolis on a neutral field, because that's what they're trying to tell you with this number. Indianapolis is a stout defense. Tampa Bay is not. Last week, you had the rookie Herbert for the Chargers put up huge numbers, 369 yards passing in only his career start. I can't back Tampa Bay laying the points on the road here. I got to take Chicago. You're getting the better defense, getting points at home on a short week where Tampa's got to travel. It's not a division game. We talk about this on Thursday nights all the time, that road teams are always at a disadvantage on the Thursday night games, but even more so if it's a non-division game because it's an opponent you're not used to playing. I'll take the Bears. They pull the upset here. Everybody's going to jump on board with Tom Brady in the way they came back last week, and he's putting up big numbers, and that'll continue to happen as this team gets used to each other, and that's both Brady and his receivers, but I just can't pull that trigger tonight. Kelly, primetime, home dog, I'm there. I'm thinking
Marco,
maybe you'll be visiting.
He already knows. I, of course, like the Bears. I was curious to see if they would be worth a good teaser spot, but we know this line's come down unless it hits 2.5, which it's not going to. It's going to be a lot of Tampa Bay money. VR, your thoughts on the Thursday night game?
Yeah, I'll end the suspense. I already bet this game and released this game to my subscribers as a 4% play. I made a mistake by not buying the half point and taking it to 6. And the reason I say that is because when it got to 3.5 and now you got to pay minus 15 to get that 3.5 on Chicago, I wouldn't have mind paying that extra 10 cents to get it to 6. And I didn't do that. I gave it out at 5.5. what the number was, and that's what we bet it at. Chicago plus 5.5. It's now down to 3.5, even 4 at some square shop. It's up to you whether you want to follow or fade. The reason for that's pretty simple. Again, Tampa Bay's made my top 5 in power ratings. They're legit. But the bookmakers and the odds makers, more importantly, have done a great job of pricing this team to where they're 2-2. Last week, it was right on the number. I mean, if you got the half a point like we did, you were able to get the cover at the worst, a push. And the games they did cover against Denver and Green Bay, Carolina, excuse me, I don't think it beat up the books all that much, except on the teaser side. And that's what Tampa's being used in a ton of. I like Chicago here. I think they have the defense to keep this game close. Offensively, obviously, they're behind Tampa Bay. And we know that Tampa Bay defense started picking it up from the second half of last year. That front seven's legit. You're not going to run against them. They're going to put pressure on your quarterback, that's for sure. But I do like what I've seen of Chicago since they've made the switch. And I do think they could definitely stay in this game, if not be in a position to win it. This is one of those totals, I haven't bet it, where I thought it's a little low, to be honest with you. And I think it's shaded towards 2 good defenses. But a lot of times, 2 good defenses is the perfect storm for an over, especially when coupled with 2 terrible special teams. These are 2 of the worst special teams unit in the whole NFL. So field position matters. You couple that with defense where you get turnovers, short fields, and next thing you know, scoring goes up sometimes in those games and the totals are low. That's a perfect storm. I haven't bet the over, but my eye is definitely on that side. But so far, I'm on Chicago plus 5.5. I would sprinkle money line. I think it's a winnable game for them. Would I bet it now at 3.5? Probably not for 4% though.
I agree with you, VR. I think that this is worth it. I like that reverse line movement. You guys know that's one of my favorite things to follow, and that is what happened in Thursday night. Let's move to Sunday night. This is a game I'm not as confident in, even though we have seen some line move. The Minnesota Vikings head to Seattle. Line 7s across the board. We have a 6.5 at Pinnacle. Our friends over at the Westgate, total 57.5. VR, I'm going to kick it back to you. Does Coach Zimmer and the Vikings have a chance here? I know you and I were both against Seattle last week on the road. Not a ton of home field advantage here because there is no fans in Seattle. So that has me kind of looking at the dog.
Yeah, listen, this line's inflated. To say it isn't inflated is ridiculous. It's obviously higher than it should be. And they have to do that. Why wouldn't the books shade it towards the Seattle side? Even though Minnesota's coming off, back-to-back covers, the Seattle team's done nothing wrong. They've scored 31 or more points every game this season. They covered every game this season. And the bettors are going to back them again on Sunday night when given that option. They're going to have them tied into teasers. They're going to have them tied into moneyline parlays. I can't blame them for that. But I do think Minnesota could definitely give them a run for their money. Minnesota's one of those balanced teams. They're top 15 offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency. It just hasn't turned into W's. And I know we all bash their defense, and that's all the talk, their defense. But again, they played teams like Green Bay that are putting up some points. That's going to skew your stats, especially in a small sample of 4 games. When a team puts up 40 on you like Green Bay did. So for me, I like the Minnesota side a little bit, but I think there's more value in that under. This is one of those totals where I do think they overpriced because they had to. Again, if this was the number last week in Seattle, Miami, it wouldn't have went over. If this was the total last week for Houston, Minnesota, it wouldn't have went over. And those games did go over because they were lower totals. And this is what I was talking about at the start, that as long as the books over adjust based on what the scoring is for the season, we're going to get some unders. And they've obviously done that in this game. Win or lose, I think you're getting line value on the under. And believe it or not, I think there's some line value on Minnesota as well. But I like the under in this game as my official play.
Really quickly, VR, just wanted to touch on that. Now, because it's a primetime game, do you think we wait? Or is this something, if somebody likes the under, they need to bet it now?
No, I think we could wait because even if you see it dip a little bit, it'll come back up. It'll be around that 57, 58 mark. I don't think, though, it could get much, much higher. I'd be surprised to see a 60 in the NFL. You know what I mean? But if you see 58s up there, I'd grab it because I could see sharp money coming in and betting this under. It does look high.
All right, Marco, talk to me about my fantasy boyfriend, Mr. Mike Zimmer. All jokes aside, if you're new to the show, Marco likes to give me a lot of hell about one of my favorite coaches in the league. This year, he's got it done. I was talking to Dave Koken, one of our Wager Talk guys, the other day. Dave said, Kel, what do you think about Coach Zimmer and the Vikings? I looked at it a little bit more. He and I decided it was worth a little sprinkle. They got it done for us against the coach that just got fired in Bill O'Brien. Marco, your thoughts on this Sunday night game?
Well, it's not often that Gianni and myself are going to go head-to-head, but we are going to go head-to-head on the Sunday night game here. And I agree this is a high total, but it's supposed to be a high total. If you've watched these games and watched both of these teams play, they both can move the football on anybody. The problem is neither team has been able to stop their opponent. Now, last week, the Seattle-Miami game did go under by a point. But if you remember in that game, Miami, and I know, Kelly, you say, kicking is for losers. Well, it was what cost Miami not only the game, the point spread, also cost backers the total because those 5 field goals is what kept the game under the total. And all they needed was one of those field goals to be a touchdown, and they easily go over the total, which they missed by 1 point. You look at this one and you look at what Minnesota has done and who they have played. Yeah, they've played some potent offenses that have put up points, but they even played an offense that's not real potent, and that's the Indianapolis Colts. And you know how high I am on the Colts. They didn't get the job. They put up 28 points on this defense. So Seattle is going to put up their share of points. This is a game where I agree the line is high on the side. I think, the touchdown may be asking a little bit too much because everybody's in love with Seattle and Russell Wilson. But who's going to stop one another? And unless both teams end up with those 10-play drives and settle for field goals, this thing's getting into the 30s for both teams. They've done it on a regular basis. And 57's high, and it's a TV game where it's going to get a lot of action, so it probably will go up closer to game time. But as VR said, you're going to see sharp money come in on the under because that's what they do. They come in on certain numbers, and this is going to be one of those that's going to be, well, hey, we just have to play it because of the value. We know what happens in the NFL. This is a different year in the NFL, and until I see it change, when I have two teams like this that can score at will, and the coaches have demonstrated that they got to protect their defenses, look at Pete Carroll. He's the perfect poster child for 2020. He knows his defense sucks, and he's not trying to protect them. He's scoring on every possession. He's opened it up for Russell Wilson, which has made everybody in fantasy football happy because that's what they wanted to see from the Seahawks for the last several years. Well, he didn't have to do that because he had a defense. He doesn't anymore. He's taken the reins off Russell Wilson. And a Russell Wilson with an open playbook against the Minnesota Viking defense this year, I don't see how they don't get into 30. So I'm looking for a 30.
67 last year in this game, Marco. 67 points. You might be right. I didn't bet it, but I don't know. You might be right.
I got it as a 37-31 type game. The old cliche,
like
Kelly.
Last year.
Team with the ball last might be the team that wins it.
All right. Well, I'll be looking at the dog per usual. All jokes aside, let's take a quick commercial break. Appreciate the segment. You guys let me allow this segment to run long. I know these guys both provide a lot of great info.
Every Monday at wagertalk.com, all plays are just $9. This even includes top-rated 5% plays, which normally sell for $40. There's no better day to get winning picks than $9 Mondays at wagertalk.com and our sister site, sportsmemo.com.
Football is here, and the Gold Sheet, the nation's oldest sports betting newsletter, is back for its 63rd year, bigger and better than ever. Gold Sheet has a new, improved web-based, mobile-friendly format that includes all of the winning information you rely on with the easiest access ever. While the format is new, all of the features you are accustomed to are still there. That's right. Analysis on every pro and college game, key release selections, updated power ratings on every team, point spread logs for all NFL and college teams, and all college football games through May 2021 will be included. To celebrate joining the Wager Talk family, we are offering our subscribers our best deal ever. Sign up for a season of any Gold Sheet product and get $200 in Wager Bucks as a bonus. Wager Bucks can be used to purchase handicapping information from any of our 40-plus experts on Wager Talk or sportsmemo.com. Head to goldsheet.com/WagerTalk for any subscription and bonus details. All right, guys, it's time for a really fun segment. Now, I enjoy this one because we get to see the 12-day number from the Westgate and how things have panned out since then. So we have the Carolina Panthers. Gianni, I'm going to start with you. With the Carolina Panthers, they opened as a 3.5-point underdog. I went to grab that number. It is long gone. It is now 2, and we're even seeing a 1 on the board at Bet Online. This one's really interesting. I can't wait to take the Carolina Panthers and bet against the Falcons, but it almost seems a little trappy at this point.
Yeah, a 0-4 team laying points. They did it when they were 0-2. Now they're doing it again at 0-4. I can tell you this: I haven't bet this game, but Carolina plus 2.5 got steamed by a pretty sharp, very sharp group actually that I share plays with. Again, we didn't bet it. I don't have a piece of it. I didn't send it out to subscribers, but I agree with it. Why bet this Atlanta team? What have I seen that this team should be a favorite just because they're playing at home? I get it. They played Dallas tough. They came close against Chicago, but they're not winning these football games. So how could you be laying points with Atlanta? It's either take it or leave it alone. So I understand why wise guys took the Panthers.
Makes sense to me. All right. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs. This one opened 11.5, now 13.5 over at the Westgate. Total 56.5. I do think, Marco, that this Kansas City team just a little fraudulent last week to get the cover. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was one of those games that people are going to look at and say, hey, they were lucky. New England doesn't shoot themselves in the foot all night long. They might have taken them to a limit. But guys, it's been a, tough schedule for Kansas City, having to play that Monday night game and then have New England. And then what do they got next week? They got a Thursday night trip to Buffalo, big game with the Buffalo Bills. So I'm looking at this one. I say, yes, it is justified because Kansas City still won and covered when they didn't play their best. And the Raiders, the more we see of them, the more we see they still have the defensive issues that they've had all along. And I just don't see them stopping this Kansas City offense. So I am on board with the line move here from last week. The stock went down more on the Raiders than it went up on Kansas City.
All right, VR, the LA Rams opened a 9.5-point favorite at the Washington football team. They didn't get the cover against the Giants. The Washington football team gets the backdoor line. Now 7 minus 120 over at the Westgate. Total 45, and there's some 45.5s on the board as well.
Yeah, I don't know who's betting this Washington Redskin team, but somebody obviously is for this line to drop. Again, we know that the home dogs are attractive to a lot of sharp bettors, especially older school bettors. And I think this was a case of grabbing the points. I think the Rams are actually a little undervalued. They're very good, man. I mean, they're better than we thought they were going to be coming into the season, I think. Yeah, I'm surprised by this move. I think the Rams are going to be tied into so many teasers. Why give bettors that advantage where they could take it down now to a 1? So I don't get it. Again, I didn't bet this game, but I do see sharp money on Washington. I disagree with it, but I can't fault you for taking a home dog, I guess.
Oh, I couldn't do it myself. I did it at 14.5 last week. We'll see where this one ends up. Marco, the Arizona Cardinals lost last week to the Panthers. The New York Jets did what they do per usual. Now, their coach still has a job, but it looks like Joe Flacco will be at the helm. Arizona opened 8.5, now down to 7 minus 120 over at the Westgate, total 46.5.
Yeah, Kelly, this line jumped right away from that 8.5 to 7. So that move occurred before they officially announced Darnold out. Maybe some insiders got a little bit of word and was trying to get ahead of it. Flacco, the way the Jets have played this year with no running game and everything else, he's going to be a sitting duck there. And Arizona coming off an embarrassing loss last week on the road. But let's face it, we talk about young teams. That was a young team that was favored on the road. It's uncharted territory for them. So I can understand the public now dropping their perception of Arizona some. So I understand why this line move has occurred. But do I want any part of the Jets? No. The line move's justified, but I still doesn't tell me that I'm heading and following it.
I don't blame you. I just don't have the stomach for it. I told everybody last week against the Broncos. Oh, yuck. All right, the New York Giants at Dallas now being a divisional game. No surprise here. Money coming in on the dog, at least in my opinion. This one opened 11, now down to 9.5 across the board. 54 over at the Westgate VR. Your thoughts on the divisional dog that always seems to play the Cowboys tough?
Yeah, I think it's warranted. I'm not surprised by it. Listen, I was high on Dallas coming into the season, but I have no problem jumping off when I see they're not getting it done like it appeared on paper. They had the capabilities of doing it. A losing bet's a losing bet. Now look elsewhere. So I agree with it. I think the Giants are live here, and Dallas, more importantly, is in no position to be laying this many points. They've won one game this season, and more importantly, they haven't covered a single football game. And now they're laying double digits. Maybe it sounds square to take the Giants. So call me square because I don't see the value in laying double digits with this Dallas team right now.
You just can't. This Dallas defense is so suspect. I know Dak's doing everything in his power to get the W. I think we're going to see a lot of Dallas in teasers this week. We'll get to our teaser segment. But one last game, Marco. The Indianapolis Colts, your favorite team, at the Cleveland Browns. Indy opened a 2.5-point favorite, now down to 1.5.
Yeah, Kelly, I've been locked in on this Indianapolis team. We've used them several times this year, and they've come home for me. But I'm going to tell you, this line move is justified. Last week, we loved Indianapolis, and you know all of the reasons. But this game for Cleveland's better than you think. And remember, last year, they were the darling heading into the start of the season. It was everybody's sexy pick. Well, they were just a year too soon and one head coach too soon because the Kitchens experiment was a disaster last year, and he was one and done. This team is going in the right direction right now. They're getting great play calling from the head coach, and they are getting improvement from Baker Mayfield. Why? Because they're balancing the offense this year with the run and the pass. They're utilizing those backs they have and getting the job done. Yeah, this move down to Cleveland is justified.
All right. And now a segment that Johnny Detroit wanted to get rid of a year and a half ago or so. And we said, no way. People love this. I'm starting to love teasers after last week. I had a 4-team teaser that somehow came in with every single late play. This week looks like a beautiful teaser week. So, Marco, I'm going to start with you. I cannot wait to hear who your week 5 teaser is.
All right, Kelly. Well, we're going to start it off with the most fundamental one that you can get. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. They're coming off an unplanned bye week last week because of their game being canceled with the Tennessee Titans. And I look at them at home. You've got Big Ben in that offense going to go against this Philadelphia riddled with injuries team. And last week, we were on Philadelphia. We got the money against San Francisco because they had 3 offensive linemen, banged up Philadelphia and everything else, but they were facing a banged up 49er team on both sides of the football, especially on the defensive side. And the 49ers were not able to exploit that. And if you look at the numbers, Philadelphia won the game, but they didn't put up a lot of yardage. Now this week, they're going against a healthy defense and a good defense, and they've got to play for 2 weeks in a row on the road. Granted, it's not a long road trip from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, but it will be long whenever they face that defense that'll be coming at them. I teased Pittsburgh down to 1. You're asking me to take the Steelers in a just pick the winner situation against the Eagles and all of those injuries? Yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. And update for you this week, the governor of Pennsylvania changed the mandate. You can have 7,500 people at a public gathering, meaning the Steelers can have fans this week, 7,500 of them. And not that that's going to be a big difference, but it sure doesn't hurt just throwing it in there. And the last one, I'll be simple on this one, Kelly. It's just one of those old school adages. When a coach gets fired, you look at that team the first week because the team is going to play at a different level. Why? Well, the coach got fired mainly because the players suck, all right? But the players don't want to admit that they haven't been playing good, so they're going to play their best game that first week he's gone to show, the problem was the coach, it wasn't us. And I'm going to take the Houston Texans here. This is a spot for them. We get to tease them down to just pick the winner. Now, a lot of people wanted to jump on them last week because they were dropping in class facing Minnesota after that brutal opening schedule of playing Baltimore, playing Kansas City, then playing the Steelers. Yeah, they have played the toughest schedule, no question about it. But their game plan last week was horrible, and their defense didn't stop anybody. Different story this week. I'll go ahead. I'll take Houston, putting them in a spot where they just have to win the game. I'll do that. Take Houston. That's the second half of the teaser. You tease them down to pick.
I love it. That is great, Marco. And I think our buddy Ralph Michaels coming up in our next segment is going to have some added info for that one. VR, who is your teaser for NFL Week 5?
Yeah, and disclaimer again, just like I didn't bet the Sunday Night Football game that I gave out, I haven't bet a teaser this week. I didn't bet a teaser last week. I didn't release any teasers, and I didn't release any teasers the week before. So for the last 2 weeks, I haven't bet a single teaser. And the reason for that should be obvious. Scoring is up. When they're scoring 50-plus points, a teaser loses its value. We touched on this, I think, the first or second week, that the only reason to use a teaser is because those 6 points will help you cash over 75% clip, meaning each side has to win over 75% of the time for that to be profitable. So if you're adding those 6 points and it doesn't accomplish that, what's the point? And it's tough to accomplish that when scoring is up because each half point is worth a lot less. So again, if you're making money off teasers this year, God bless you. Keep doing it. Tease the shit out of these books and take all their money. But I just haven't seen the value there to use a teaser. But here's what I'm picking because I think it's advantageous. Number one, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Marco gave you all the reasons, so why even waste your time repeating those? They got to win that game at home. They should win that game at home. And then I'm going to take, what else did I give? Arizona. Yeah, on the road, that's the only negative. But listen, you got to win these kind of games. Arizona knows their season doesn't get any easier. This is a team that is in a position where they think they can compete in their division, if not in their conference. All systems go with Murray. I like Arizona there to get the win also. So tease Arizona with who I said first, Pittsburgh. They fall into that, you know what I'm looking for. We're looking to tease through key numbers.
Absolutely.
You've been here before.
I am with both of you guys with the Pittsburgh Steelers in a teaser. I'm going to go a different route, though. I'm going to put the Cleveland Browns in mind, getting them up over 3 and 7. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break here. When we return, is the deli open? We know we got a Steam game coming from VR, and then our guy, Ralph Michaels.
This is not a trick, but it's a treat. Get the rest of October for just $1.99. Why pay $1.19 for 7-day all access when our Halloween special gets you every play through October 31st for only $1.99? If you buy today, it's $1.99. If you buy tomorrow, it's $1.99. And if you buy Saturday, it's $1.99. Get up to 25 days for only $1.99, so pay as little as under $8 a day for every play, including 5% best bets that normally sell for $40. This offer is valid through Sunday at midnight at wagertalk.com and select handicappers at sportsmemo.com.
Get $25 in wager bucks added to your account after your first purchase at wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com. This is just our way of saying thank you for joining the Wager Talk and Sports Memo family.
All right, welcome back to Bet on It. Marco, does he have a trap? Does he have a sandwich? Well, you guys got to wait because VR has a Steam game of the week for us first.
Yes, I do. And we're going to go with an NFL total. This one I released to subscribers. It's a premium play, just like my best bet is going to be. And I'm going Cleveland, Indianapolis under the total of 47. I even see a 47.5 at some of the square shops. These are two contrasting teams as far as scoring goes. You have Cleveland, that's been an offensive juggernaut, putting up, after that Baltimore loss, 35, 34, 40-plus points. And on the flip side, even though Indianapolis has looked fairly good offensively, at least against poor teams like the Jets and Minnesota defensively, on the defensive side of the ball, they've been shutting teams down. And I think they're going to be able to do that to Cleveland. Now, not to the degree of keeping them to 11, 12 points like they did against Minnesota and Chicago. But I do think it'll be a much more lower scoring game. And let's look at, more importantly, of the record of these two teams. These are two 3-1 football teams. This is an important game. You could go 4-1 and be in the driver's seat in a very good position. I know it's early in the season to talk playoffs, but this has AFC playoff implications, if not like that atmosphere type of game. I think both these teams want to step up and show, listen, we're there to compete with the elite in the AFC. We're not phony. I think you're going to see one of those heavyweight type fights in this one where they kind of go back and forth, feel each other out. And I don't think you're going to see scoring like you did, at least from the Cleveland side. I look for a much more managed type game, lower scoring, under 47 for our Steam game this week.
I like it because that correlates really well with the teaser I just gave out. All right, Marco, I heard you guys moved the deli to Florida because everything is open there. Tell me who this week's sandwich game of the week is.
All right, Kelly. Well, the deli is open, but I'm hoping we get to eat the sandwich because right now there is no line on the game that I'm giving. So, and it is the Buffalo-Tennessee game. And you're going to say, well, Marco, how can you pick a game where there's no line and you don't know what's going on? Well, the whole purpose of the sandwich game is to find unique situations in the schedule where I feel there's an outstanding edge for one of the two teams. And in this particular ball game, we've got Buffalo that is in an absolute nightmare of a schedule situation. One, they're on the road for the second week in a row. Two, it's their third road game in 4 weeks. If you remember, 4 weeks ago, they went to Miami. Then they had that big game against the Rams at home, a game in which they had a 28-3 lead and then blew the lead and had to score with like 20 seconds left in the game to win it. And then they went on the road to Vegas. Now, the Vegas game, the score, it was worse than the score would indicate. They dominated that game. But that was a tough spot for Buffalo going on the road after that big statement win over the Rams. Now they got to be on the road again and go to Tennessee. Now, we're hoping the game gets played. I'll apologize if it gets canceled. We're taping on Wednesday. But look at who Buffalo has next on the schedule. They play on Thursday night. They play the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you thought the Rams was their statement game, this is the biggest statement game they could have of their young season for a team that's trying to say we're a contender. We're 4-0. They're going to have the defending world champs coming to their house on a Thursday night short week. This is a horrible spot for them. I am all over Tennessee if this game gets played. And the one thing that has happened this year, Buffalo's taken on a new identity. Last year, it was all defense and just get enough offense to get the job done. This year, it's all offense and just enough defense to get the job done. Teams are moving the football against Buffalo much more easily than they have in the past 2 years. And that's going to be a problem against the Tennessee team that has a great running game with Derrick Henry. And then Ryan Tannehill, we know that he's become such a better quarterback since he signed on with Tennessee and had a legitimate running back in the backfield. I like Tennessee. I'm calling for the upset. When the line comes out, there'll be a small dog, but this got sprinkle written all over it, Kelly.
I agree with you, Marco. If this game does get played, they will be a nice little, probably 2.5 point, if I had to guess, home dog. All right, now I see him waiting in the wings. There he is, Mr. Ralph Michaels. It's time for some TNA. All right, and it's that time now for some trends and angles with my favorite guy, Mr. Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV. You guys, Ralph just hit 18,000 followers. If you are not one of them, get your ass over to Twitter and follow at Cal Sports LV. Ralph, I already know you got some good stuff for me. I already saw a couple things on Twitter. I asked you to elaborate on today's show. Tell me what you got for us, NFL Week 5.
Well, Kelly, I want to bring up scoring first. I don't have any wild trends or angles to go with it, but I want our customers to be cautious. Why? Everyone's on the over bandwagon. Overs have hit 62.1%. But when I went through and I compared 2020, the first 4 games, to the first 4 games of 2015 through 2019, that's when they moved the extra point line back. Scoring is up 5.28 points per game. Totals are up 2.1 points per game. So while we went 50% for that 5-year total, and we're 62% this year, there's only a 3% difference. So there's not a gap that's going to say these numbers are going to continue to climb. So do be cautious. The second thing I want to point out, there is no question Vegas has caught up to where the overs are. Despite the number of overs last year, look at these numbers this season. Week 1, the average total, 45.8. Week 2, 46.3. Week 3, 48.2. Week 4, 49.5. And this week, the average total, 50.6 points per game. We went from 45.8, increased every week. Totals are up almost 4.8 points per game, the average over-under line. So this over-under streak will not continue. Vegas will continue to raise those numbers. So it's just buyer beware. Nothing here that I'm telling you what to do, not to bet overs or bet unders. But again, the market catches up to the way the NFL is playing. It has caught up. So be cautious. There's going to be a week coming up here where there's a lot of unders. I don't want you to get burned in that situation.
I do think it's important, and I know that we have seen a lot of games flying over, as you mentioned, over a 60% clip, but it is always important to just not blindly do that anyway. Pick and choose your spots. Ralph, what else have you dug up for us for this week?
You know, I have 2 angles. If I gave them to you independently, Kelly, you would probably say that's a wow angle, and you might bet the team because of that. But let me give you these 2 and see how close they are, but yet the records are different. First, I called good offense versus good defense. You take an NFL team that scored 43 or more points in their last game against an NFL team that allowed 11 or less. So I'm talking about Cleveland and Indianapolis this week. If you eliminate 9+ point dogs and get rid of the real low total, so you're 42 or higher, the teams like Cleveland that scored 43 or more points are 13, 27, and 3, 32.5% against the spread. So the good defense does beat the good offense. Okay? But how about now? I just told you that system says bet the Colts, and it makes sense to me. Now, how about this? In game number 4 or higher, so you're getting rid of the first 3 weeks because I'm using a win percentage of 70 or more. So we don't want a 1-0 team that has a 100 win percentage. So both teams have a win percentage of 70% or higher, and one team won outright as a dog. So the Browns won as a dog last week. They are 3-1, a win percentage over 70%. The Colts are 3-1, a win percentage over 70%. The team that won as a dog, 25-10, 71% against the spread. So a 32% on Cleveland, saying a good team and a bad team, a 71% on Indianapolis with a good team and a bad team. So I just want to show you, you can always make a team look good. The most important thing when looking for a game is making sure you look at the information that's against you and how strong is that information. So those are still great systems that I would write down that will be active in the future, and they won't be going against each other. But for this week, they do conflict. Talking about upsets, we talked about the Browns winning as a dog. The Eagles won as a dog out in San Francisco. And this one is just so simple. It's almost mind-numbing how effective it is and how simple it is. When a team wins as a dog of 6 or more, like the Eagles did, and they're a dog the next week of 6 or more, that's it. They won as a dog of 6 or more. This week they are a dog of 6 or more. Doesn't matter if they're home. Doesn't matter if they're on the road. Those teams like Philadelphia, 3-50 straight up, 13-39-1 against the spread, 25%. So add in, let's see, Philadelphia on a short week, now coming back to face a rival that they've beaten the last 3 times. I think you said you sort of like the Steelers. I think I'm with you, Kelly.
I like it, Ralph. That is a great stat. And I saw that last night on Twitter as well. That one is just enough to push me over the edge.
You know, I talked about overs and unders and saying, well, you know, I don't want you to bet overs or unders, but here's one that's going to lean towards some of the unders. The first 7 weeks of the season, when we have an away favorite of 3 or more, so it happens often. Just any game, first 7 weeks of the season, away favorites of 3 or more have gone 21-44 over under. That's 69% to the under. It applies to Tampa Bay, the Rams, and Arizona this week. I will say that this year it is 8-6. So clearly it has slanted over the total, but that 8-6 number is included in the 21-44 over under number. So keep that in mind. Early in the season, the first half of the season, if you have away favorites of 3 or more, they do tend to go under the total. I have 2 more for you. Game 5 of the NFL season. You went over in game 1. You went over in game 2. You went over in game 3. You went over in game 4. That is the Raiders, the Bills, and the New Orleans Saints. Cal, I'm going to put you on the spot. Game 5 go over, or does it go under?
Game 5 goes under.
In the last 23 times since 2007, if the first 4 games have gone over, 4 overs, 18 unders, and a push. Way under the total.
With those questions. Usually get me to say the generic answer, so I didn't think long on that one. I was like, it's definitely going under.
So yeah, I mean that's a big under. For those teams, you've gone over 4 straight games. Now you're to game 5, 4 overs, 18 unders, and a push. Significant underplays there.
And those are which teams this week? Sorry.
Those are the Raiders, the Bills, and the Saints this week. And the last one, this isn't week specific. So write this down. It's easy to mark down. It's easy to check. You don't have to look up any stats. A team off a straight up an ATS loss against a team off a straight up an ATS win, and the lines between the 3s. So does the losing team continue to lose and the winning team continue to win, or does it reverse? Well, in this situation, we're talking about Atlanta and Carolina. The team that lost, like Atlanta, has gone 8-31 against the spread, 20.5%. And Kelly, you're going to love this. Remember, we're talking between the 3, so there's a couple times where there are favorites. Straight up, the team has gone 10-31. So there's some money line sprinkles available there. So if a team is off a straight up loss against a team off a straight up win, and the lines between the 3s, the team that has won last week and covered has covered 79.5% of the time.
Awesome stuff, Ralph. Look, guys, if you have a question for Ralph, all you have to do is tweet him at CalSportsLV. He's always great. He's got this extensive database that he shares with all of us and the rest of the Twitter universe. Thank you again to Ralph. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, more Bet on It. Did you know every Tuesday is $2 Tuesday at wagertalk.com? We pick the hottest handicapper and offer his best bet for just $2. This is a great way to introduce yourself to the winning handicappers at wagertalk and sportsmemo.com. Welcome back to Bet on It. It is barking dogs time. Marco, there's some juicy dogs on the board this week. Who have you dug up for us, and who is going to win this game outright?
Well, Kelly, the barking dog, we got a little Chihuahua this week. It's a small dog, okay? So we're probably looking to sprinkle instead of taking it on the money line or on the point spread because we're only getting 2 points and it's still heading lower than that. But that is the Cleveland Browns. And we talked about this game briefly when we were talking about line moves being justified. This one is completely justified. I have been dialed in on Indianapolis this year, going with them on a couple spots, but now I am stepping in front of them. And the reason for that is this is the Cleveland Browns statement game. They had a big win last week at Dallas, and normally beating Dallas in Dallas would be that statement win. But because of all the problems Dallas has had on defense this season, it's not as shocking of a win. If they beat Indianapolis, a good defense, then this Cleveland Brown team's for real. And as I said, last year, this was the darling team. Everybody was on the Browns. They were going to make that big leap forward. They fired a coach, got a new coach in Kitchens last year, and that was just a nightmare. He wasn't ready to coach an NFL team, and the team suffered. They are getting better play calling. They are more efficient with this offense. They've got a balanced offense this year running the football. You got two studs in the backfield using both of them, Chubb and Hunt, and then that makes Baker Mayfield that much better. And if you remember a couple weeks ago, I loved the Buffalo Bills against the Rams at home. They were an undefeated team that wasn't getting any respect, and that was their statement game. Now this is the statement game for Cleveland. I'll take them at home. We'll take the Cleveland Browns to get the win against Indianapolis. And that Indianapolis defense has been great. But this will be, and it's not often you get to say that, playing the Cleveland Browns, this will be the best offense they face so far. We'll see what happens this week. I'll go ahead and take Cleveland in the mild upset for my barking dog.
All right, I like it. VR, I think you have a little bit bigger of a dog for us, but it's kind of interesting here because I'm in this glass case of emotion based on what Marco said during the teaser segment. Tell me who your barking dog is for NFL Week 5.
Yeah, and I actually released this pick. Personally, I got Jacksonville +7, -120. I released it at -6. There were some 6.5s out there, but not enough for me to, ensure that every subscriber could get down at the same number. So I said, give it at 6. I think there's enough value at 6. It's definitely still playable for the same amount because I think this line should be a lot lower. And I think this is a very winnable game for Jacksonville. Here's the bottom line with Houston. We knew coming into the season, the regression was coming. Forget the fact of, the trade and we all talked about the DeAndre Hopkins situation, but it was more about this defense. Let's not forget, they blew a 24-0 divisional playoff game lead against the Chiefs. And the reason was they were the 28th ranked defense last season. Well, guess what? They're worse this year because they had nothing to recover, meaning they didn't have draft picks. They used all that stuff up to trade and pick up free agents. So they couldn't pick up any defensive free agents. They went offense. And then in the draft, they couldn't get anything till the 3rd or 4th round. So defensively, this team's going to be a liability all year. Now, Jacksonville's got problems on defense as well. They let up 30-plus points in 3 of their last 4 games. The difference is Jacksonville also has an offense where they could put up points, unlike Houston, who also is 20th in efficiency on the offensive side of the ball, and near 30th on defense. But again, with Jacksonville, they're 6th in all the NFL on offensive DVOA. That's value over average. So this offense is legit. they will keep us in the game against this defense. And again, you're 0-4. You have zero business not having covered a single spread to be laying a touchdown almost just because you're at home. Again, it may sound square, but call me a square. I'll take Jacksonville. I bet them. I released them, win or lose. My money's back that opinion for sure.
All right, VR, you square. I am definitely with you. I do think Jacksonville is a barking dog. It is now time for our best bets, the moment you guys have all been waiting for. And I'll go first. Why? Because I'm 1-3 this year on my best bets. It has been absolutely atrocious. You guys, I get it. Last year, best bets were so money. This year, not so much. I have not done well over the last 3 weeks, but I'm going to go back to my tried and true. Stop overthinking it. I am going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers -7 here. I'm going to couple it with what Ralph said about teams like the Eagles coming off a win. I'm going to couple it with what Marco said during his teaser segment and the extra little added bonus, 7,500 fans. I didn't even know that. I'm going to keep it really simple here, guys. My best bet for NFL Week 5 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, Marco, I'm going to go to you next. Who is your best bet for this week?
Well, Kelly, knock on wood, we've been good in this segment all year. 3-0-1 so far. Let's keep the undefeated streak going. And I'm going to go with a little unconventional play here. We're going to go with a first half wager this week. And we're going to look at the Baltimore Ravens, and the first half number is -7. They're playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, we've got a couple situations why I like this and why I'm going for the first half wager rather than the full game. We've seen Joe Burrow. He can sling it around. I think this guy's got a future in the NFL. I don't think I'm going that far out on a limb by saying that. But with that said, it's going to be tough at the beginning of this game because this is the best defense he has faced so far this season. And they might feel a little giddy coming off that first win last week. And we all know that Harbaugh's team, the Baltimore Ravens, comes out of the gate smoking. This team hits the ground running. How many times have you seen them score on their opening drive? I look for them to be able to take the football and march it right down the field against this Cincinnati Bengal defense. A Cincinnati Bengal defense that has allowed 479 yards on the ground and 765 yards passing in the last 3 games. Think about that for a minute. 479 on the ground and 765 through the air in 3 games. And who are those 3 teams? Cleveland, Philadelphia, and Jacksonville. My God, nothing compared to what they're going to see with the Baltimore Ravens in that running attack. And speaking of that running attack, Cincinnati can't stop the run. And that is going to help us keep the ball away from Joe Burrow to score the points. And we know when you look at stats, Kelly, a lot of people, when they're going back and doing their game stats, a lot of handicappers look at the first half stats rather than the full game stats because that's where you get the full effect of the team. They're not playing prevent defense if they have a big lead. The other team's not throwing up garbage yards because they're trying to, come back being down 3 scores. It's the true test of the 2 teams. And I think these 2 teams are just head and shoulders apart. And I think -7 for the first half is a steal. And that is my best bet this week. Take Baltimore, lay the 7 for the first half, and then put your feet up and enjoy the second half.
I like it. Yes, because I feel like that back door is going to be wide open for whatever reason. It's a ton of points. VR, last but not least, how have your best bets been this year, and who do you have for NFL Week 5?
I'm not sure how my best bets are doing. I swear, Kelly. I know I hit last week's. This one I'm giving, I bet it, so it's official. I'll be quick because we touched on it earlier, and it's the New York Giants. I bet them and released them at +10. They're now 9.5. There's still some 10s. I think FanDuel's still at 10, so some square shops will be at double digits. But I don't think that'll be a problem. Listen, Dallas has owned this team of late. They've won, I think, 5 or 6 straight against the New York Giants, and they've done so convincingly. This is a divisional game, and none of those spreads were higher than 7, 7.5. We're all range. And that's exactly where this line should be. So I personally think I'm down 2.5, 3 points more than I should. And as a bettor, that's the most I could ever ask for. Now, granted, I know how bad the New York Giants are in football, and they were supposed to improve this year because the problem last season, besides, the inexperience at defensive line, they did a lot through the draft to, tighten that up. But it's going to take some time, I think, to get to that NFL level. I think it'll improve, but their defense has been playing well. They're 11th in DVOA. They got a top 5 special teams. And believe it or not, I think the New York Football Giants can keep this close. And as bad as they are, haven't won a single football game. You've lost a lot more money betting Dallas than you have betting the Giants this year. They're 2-2 against the spread. So give me the New York Football Giants over the Dallas Cowboys plus the points.
I'm with you, VR. I do like the Giants this week in a divisional spot that they do well at. Not to mention, I think this line's too high because the books are trying to protect themselves from that Dallas teaser. They put Dallas at 7. Dallas is going to be in every single teaser on the planet. Now, this is normally where I tell you guys goodbye, but we have a special treat for you coming up. So let's take a quick commercial break. And when we get back, we have a little college segment for you with our best bets.
Marco is coming off a big week last week as he went 6-3 in football and is on a 10-3 run in all sports combined. Marco is hitting 67% of the year in college football. Going back to last season, Marco is 44-27 with his last 71 plays in college and pro football. That's 62% winners. This Sunday, Marco is releasing his 5% NFL Game of the Month. Last Sunday, Marco cashed with his 5% NFL high roller play on Indianapolis -2.5, a 19-11 winner. Get all of Sunday's NFL plays highlighted by Marco's 5% NFL Game of the Month for $39. Check it out at wagertalk.com.
You guys asked for it. Now, we're not doing a full-on college football bet on it this year. And maybe, given the next couple of weeks, we might figure something out with the Big Ten and Pac-12 coming back. But we still wanted to be able to bring you guys a college football best bet. Marco, I'm going to let you go first, but I know you have a special offer for us at Wager Talk.
Yeah, guys, you've seen the commercials all the time where we have $2 Tuesday. We have a special offer. We pick one capper and we give away their play best bet for $2. Well, that happens on Tuesday. We tape this show on Wednesday. So this week, we've decided to leave the $2 play up all week. And great week to do it because you know why? I'm the $2 capper this week. So you can get my ACC Game of the Week this Saturday for just $2. Guys, we're hitting 67% in college football this year. And if you have never tried a play at Wager Talk, this is a super time to do it. You watch the show. If you like the way we handicap games, head over to Wager Talk right now, and you can pick up my ACC Game of the Week for just $2, Kelly.
I love it, Marco.
Want to go ahead and go to the...
Yes, absolutely.
Should
Tell
I go
me
for
who
the
your
best bet now?
That is, yes.
Sorry about that. All right, Kelly, we're going to look at the Temple-Navy game, and I can guarantee you this is going to be a popular play with people around the country, and they're all going to have the same side for the same reason, and they're going to say, Navy's the play this week. Navy's playing their 4th game of the season, while Temple's playing the 1st game of the season. They're also going to say, it's so hard to prepare for the Navy option. Yeah, true. Okay. That's all great filler for sports talk radio. We're not sports talk radio. We're sports betting. And I'm going to tell you why all of that is wrong. Yes, it is hard to prepare for the Navy option when you don't see it on a regular basis and you've got to prepare for it in the middle of a season with 1 week to prepare. That's not the case here. Temple sees this Navy option every year since Navy joined this conference. Not only have they seen it every year, but now they're getting extra time to prepare for it because this is their 1st game of the season. When you have extra time to prepare for the option, you are much more effective at stopping it. And speaking of stopping it, they have held them in check. The last 3 times Temple and Navy have played, Navy has scored 17, 26, and 10 points. That's it. I'm going to take Navy or excuse me, I'm going to take Temple against Navy here. This Navy team is bad. We've had them twice this year. I'm fortunate enough to be 2-0. I went against them against BYU, and then I had them in the Tulane game. But in 2 of their blowout losses, after the BYU game and last week after the Air Force game, the head coach was making excuses for the team. That's never a good sign. After the first week, when they got blown out by BYU, he said, it's all on me. We didn't have the team prepared properly because of COVID and not knowing how the season was going to unfold. We didn't have practices in full pads and tackling. We weren't prepared for the BYU game. Okay, I'll buy that. But then what was the excuse after the Air Force game? He said Air Force had an unfair advantage because they had extra time to prepare for Navy while Navy had been playing games. Well, guess what? That's the same situation this week. I'm on Temple, lay the points, and we're going to grab the best bet win with Temple.
I like it. All right, VR. College football, been doing well. I wanted to bring this segment back. Also, tell everybody how you've been doing in college football and who is your best bet for, I don't even know what week of college football it is. Is it 5? Is it 6?
Yeah, I don't even know either, Kelly. I write NFL Week 5, and then on the other side, I just write college football. Here's what I do know. We've been doing better in college football even than NFL, where it's been a profitable season after 4 weeks. I just checked now the last 30 days, which is pretty much the whole college football season, I think. Plus 28.4%, 62% overall on 42 premiums. Can't get better than that. And that's what you pay me for. Here's what I got for you. This is a premium play released to subscribers Monday or Tuesday, and that was Arkansas plus 15. I think I gave it out 14.5. It's 14 right now. Pretty much same number we bet it at. I like Arkansas. Here's why. I know the letdown is expected. They were over a 2-touchdown underdog last week against Mississippi State. They got the job done, and now they got to play Auburn on the road back-to-back weeks. This is a team that's going on the road in the SEC. Difficult to do. Auburn's coming off that loss to Georgia, and I get it. They want to bounce back and all that, but you got to be capable of doing that. And what I saw with Auburn is simple, and Georgia was my 5% play, and I didn't release it until maybe an hour before game time. The more I dug, the more I realized if Auburn can't run the football, they're in a lot of trouble. That offense can't do anything. And there's one thing that Arkansas does well, and that's defend against the run. When they lost to Georgia, they may have lost by 27 points, but they held Georgia to 121 yards on the ground on 42 attempts. So less than 3 yards per rush is what Arkansas held Georgia to. Now, if you look at that Georgia line, Arkansas was getting 27.5 points compared to Auburn, who was only getting 7 by Georgia. So according to that, Auburn should be 3 touchdowns better, at least point spread wise, than Arkansas. But nothing could be further from the truth. It's just an overvalued Auburn team versus an undervalued Arkansas team. That's exactly what you want to look for in college football to make money. I'm on Arkansas plus the points. Let's keep this game close and get the cover.
I like it. All right. I'm going to be on an island here with my college football best bet. Money is pouring in on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Everybody's saying last week's loss to the team that VR just talked about this whole time, Arkansas was a fluke. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think it was a fluke. And I do think that the Arkansas defensive coordinator gave the Stoops brothers, well, one of the Stoops brothers, Mike, specifically the actual blueprint on how to stop this air raid. That air raid looked absolutely miraculous as a double-digit dog against an LSU team who hasn't seen anything like that. Well, now that we've got a defensive team that's able to stop them, maybe they can teach the Kentucky Wildcats secondary how to stop them. I know this is going to be a high-scoring game, but I do think the Kentucky is a favorite here for a reason. Ton of money coming in on the Bulldogs, ton of money and tickets. I don't care. I'm bucking the trends here. I'm laying the point with the Kentucky Wildcats. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and when we return, it is time to wrap it all up, put a little bow on it so that you guys can get the recap for NFL Week 5.
This Saturday, Gianni will be releasing a 5% big move. You can get his big 5% winner with all of Gianni's other college football plays on Saturday for just $39. Gianni has turned a profit at Wager Talk in both 2018 and 2019. In 2020, his clients are up over 110%. Don't miss a single college football winner on Saturday with Gianni's College Football All Access Pass at wagertalk.com.
Thank you for hanging out with us tonight on Bet On It. Let's recap. We're going to start with the Thursday night primetime game. All three of us like the Bears. Jump on that one because it's only going to keep going lower. And on Sunday night, our guys are head-to-head here. One likes the over. That would be Marco. One likes the under. That would be VR. I like the Vikings. Okay, let's go into our teaser segment. I absolutely love teasers this week. I am so excited. The guys are both on board with me with the Steelers down to -1, but Marco is going to tease him with the Texans down to a pick 'em. VR is going to tease the Cards down from a touchdown to -1. VR has a steam game for us this week, and that is the under 47. Shop around. There might be 47s and a halves with Cleveland, Indianapolis. The deli's back open in the state of Florida, but that doesn't mean this game will be played. We're hoping it does because this is a monster sandwich situation for the Buffalo Bills. Marco says if this game gets played, the Titans are definitely worth a look here. As far as barking dogs go, we got the Cleveland Browns for Marco +1.5, and VR likes the Jags +6. I'm on board with both of those. I got to get my best bets bounced back this week, and I'm taking the Steelers -7. Marco is going to go with the Baltimore Ravens in the first half -7, and VR and I are on the same page here with the Giants +9.5. We also brought you a college segment this week, and Marco is saying, don't buy the hype with this Navy team. All they do is make excuses. Temple -3.5. VR is going back to the Arkansas Razorbacks to keep it close for 2 weeks in a row. And I like the Kentucky Wildcats going against everyone and their mom on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Thank you guys for hanging out with us each and every week. We appreciate you. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. Jump in the comment sections. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Tell VR you want his goatee back, whatever it may be. Thank you guys from Marco, VR, and myself. Let's kick some ass in NFL Week 5.